How would you sum up the whole experience you've been through since the incident?
I've been to hell and back all because of a silly and costly mistake.
What's your general advice to all electricians, young people like yourself and even older workers?
I think the best way to say it is don't worry about anyone else. You're more important. Your body, your health, your family. Think it's not just you that has to go through it. Your family has to put up with it.
And tell us again why you were working live.
I was working live because I felt pressure from builders and other tradespeople on the job to keep power on so they could all work.
Should you have been working live?
No, I shouldn't have.
Damien is not alone. Unfortunately, licensed electricians of all ages and experience work live even though they know the risks involved. Despite the risks, many keep doing it. It might save them time, or there might be pressure from the owners of properties where electrical work is being carried out to keep the power on. This is the message for all electricians. You have the right to refuse to work live. Do you want to end up like this? This is just some of what Damien had to go through straight after the incident and during the early stages of his recovery. 3 days in an induced coma. At 25, almost suffering a heart attack through being heavily sedated. Suffering severe hallucinations. Spending 4 weeks in the Victorian Adult Burn Service at the Alfred Hospital, followed by 6 weeks rehabilitation at the Epworth Hospital. Suffering excruciating pain each day early in his recovery when the bandages on his arms were being changed. 2 areas of the body needing skin grafts. Being unable to go out into the sun for the foreseeable future without being covered up. Effectively having to learn to walk again after losing muscle strength due to being in bed for such a long time. The need to wear compression bandages on his arms and legs, and possibly needing another operation at some time. That was what he had to go through. Just imagine what it must have been like for his loved ones, girlfriend, family, friends, workmates.
It was a dreadful shock. My whole body went numb at what had happened to him. For a moment, I just didn't think he was my beautiful man. They told me not to show any emotion. I just stood there frozen, trying not to move a muscle in my face. I just couldn't take it. It was a terrible time. The hospital had to locate his parents to do surgery. It took 5 hours before they found them. What I went through doesn't bear thinking about. While Damien is making a good recovery, it isn't over for either of us. I still need counselling myself. I have nightmares. I am almost panic-stricken every time he leaves for work. I just don't want to let him out of my sight. I hope it gets better, although I'll be haunted by it for the rest of my life.
Unfortunately, Damien's story is not unique. Another young victim of working live tells his story, and it's also real.
I was asked to run a job furbishing a restaurant. It was my first job that I had run. Everything was going fine until one day the kitchen staff needed a certain piece of equipment working that night. All that needed to be done was to change over a circuit breaker in a switchboard and connect a cable. As the restaurant was operating at the time, I mistakenly decided that I could do the job without interrupting the operations of the restaurant and leave the switchboard live while doing the work. I was under pressure to keep things going as much as possible, and in the heat of the moment decided not to turn it off. As I put the breaker into the board, it was slightly misaligned, so I tried to realign the insulated part of the bus bar with my insulated screwdriver. But as I touched the bus bar, the insulation failed and the 2 phases shorted out and it just exploded in my face. I received flesh burns to my face and arm and was rushed to hospital. I was extremely lucky not to be blinded by the flash or be killed. It only hit home how lucky I'd been during my recovery process.
Ironically, the restaurant had to close for the day, and a significant sum had to be spent repairing the switchboard. The restaurant was without power and an income for a great deal longer than if the young electrician had been allowed to turn off the power and had not been pressured to work live. As has been shown only too clearly, working live on electrical installations can change lives. And it's not just those of the victims. But these young workers were lucky. They could have been killed. Before working live, think about it. Is it worth taking the risk? Just because you've got away with it before does not mean that an accident is not waiting to happen. Are you happy to become another electrical-related injury statistic, or even fatality?
No worries. Do you want to turn the power off? Thank you.
For more experienced electricians, have you thought about the example you are setting for young workers and apprentices? If you don't have much concern for your safety, at least think of others and the impact on them if you are seriously injured or you lose your life. The job has to be planned. Negotiate with customers to find a suitable time when the work can be carried out with the power switched off. Let's reiterate that you have the right to say no to working live, and there should be no ramifications as far as your job or career is concerned. Just respect for the stand on safety you're making. Don't be pressured into working live. Remember that apart from the dangers involved to yourself, it is against the law. Quite simply, Victoria's Electricity Safety Act requires contractors and electricians, people like you, not to expose themselves to unnecessary risk. Contact ESV for a copy of this brochure, 9203 9700 or info@esv.vic.gov.au. Provide a copy to your customers so they can understand the risks involved in working live. And check our website, www.esv.vic.gov.au.